Hey guys, welcome back to the Entertainment Lab, and in this video I will explain you the ending of Amazon's new movie Bliss and try to answer what is real and what is fake. So let's jump right into it, and before that hit the subscribe button and press the bell icon to never miss a video from us. Greg Whittle works in a call center named Technical Difficulties. He is not invested in his job and spends his time drawing sketches of distant places and figures that seems to be a figment of his imaginations. Greg's boss calls him for a meeting and he tries to lay it off. Eventually, his boss fires him, and in a bizarre accident, Greg ends up killing him. He hides his body and strays to a bar where he meets Isabel, who seems like the lady in his drawing, but is shrouded in a free spirit's persona. Isabel tells Greg that the world they live in is actually a simulation and the people around them are fake. Greg is visibly confused, but the idea of having a carefree disposition draws him closer to Isabel. Isabel and Greg consumes yellow crystal, a kind of drug that grants them the power to bend the laws of physics and reshape reality. Buoyed by the new power, Greg and Isabel embarks on a whimsical journey where they bench the strains and stress of life and try to understand the meaning of existence. As the simulation draws to a heady moment with Greg and his daughter's confrontation, Isabel picks up some blue crystal that can transport them to a blissful reality. They are short on a required number of crystals but still go ahead with their plan. As soon as Greg takes in the crystals through a strange metal device, he is transported to a laboratory where he is connected to a thought visualizer. Isabel and Greg are scientists in this reality who experiment with simulations that help them acknowledge the privileges of exploring difficult realities. As Greg is transported to the reality that resembles the world from his drawings, he realizes that he is a privileged position. He is apparently a scientist, and so is Isabel, who actually devised the thought visualizer. Greg and Isabel spend some time in the pristine world enjoying their bliss. They interact with the wealthy people at the parties, even meet holographic slog Zizek, the famous philosopher. Unfortunately, the paradisal life is hampered by a glitch in their reality, and they resort to the yellow crystal to evade the dissonance. In a surreal attempt to escape, Isabel and Greg consume the blue crystal and get transported back to the ragged street of Los Angeles. The stark difference between the two realities depict the class conflict wrapped as a social commentary in the film. The idea behind the brain box is to experience the different reality that can provide varied social situations. The dissonance reality are perhaps an allegory to Greg's desire to escape his mundane routine and reach the semblance of bliss. His drawings point out this fact and imply that he is looking for an escape. In the street prophet avatar, Isabel helps Greg appreciate the things that he has and, most importantly, his daughter's relationship. In the end, Greg winds up in rehabilitation center where he acknowledges his daughter's presence. A different theory to analyze the real conundrum is that Greg might be a schizophrenic guy who desperately wants to change his worldview. He gets increasingly detached and tries to find a way out of the difficulties in his lives. Bliss forces us to empathize with the character and use the backdrop of social inequality, tries to portray the perennial desire to escape to a world that is free from difficulties. Maybe the world of Los Angeles is real and Greg finally comes to the term with it through his final confession. Two kinds of crystal appear throughout the film: yellow, which grants the power to bend reality, and blue, which transport a person to a different reality. The crystal draw a parallel to Greg's consumption of prescription drugs. As in the opening scene, he negotiates with the pharmacy to allow him a refill. Greg is introduced to a crystal by Isabel, and they consume them to enjoy a moment of fun bounding by darkly comical violence. Even though the crystal grants certain powers, characters heavily depend on them to navigate the conflicting realities. It is quite common that people consume drugs to escape their reality, which most often leads to addiction. The film combines this aspect of drugs consumption and addiction by attaching overt importance of the crystal. The characters seek to escape, but their dependency on the crystal creates problems that threaten to ruin their bliss. This can be perceived as throughout-provoking commentary on the sociological aspect of drug abuse. The film dedicates quite some time to the lower strata of the society where drugs are rampantly misused. Though it carefully crafted sci-fi narrative, Bliss highlights some relevant issues that makes it an interesting watch. Even though the narrative overlaps different realities, one cannot ignore the underlying theme that explored human consciousness limits. The crystal are the symbolic of the pleasure of the intoxication and the associated danger when it induces a detachment from reality. So that's all for the video, and thank you very much for watching this. If you have any more doubts, drop that in comment section, and if you like this, hit the like button, and for more such content like this, subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon.